Welcome back, everybody, as we recap this atrocity that is an abysmal All Stars season. Fan guy, what have you thought about this game so far?
I'm not going to argue with you on this one, Nick. I know we don't always see eye to eye on everything, but you know what? On this one, we do. This is a terrible season. It's completely defined by pregame situations, in my opinion. And then I have it kind of written off to the side, like the amount of alliances that are just it's an intricate spider web, and I think overall the amount of pregame alliances really are sinking this season in a terrible way, quite frankly.
I would agree with that. What about you, Meg?
Yep, I agree. I really can't. I'm just not as into it this season as I normally am. And there's just not a whole lot of gameplay. I love gameplay and I love strategizing, and there's none of that going on at all. It's honestly pretty boring.
It is. The feeds are extremely boring. I've barely watched this week. So I honestly wanted to talk about this more than the episodes, to be honest, because I just feel like the game of Big Brother is broken in a way because it's been like 7 seasons of alliance formed in the first couple weeks. The other people can't get it together in time, so they get picked out one by one, and then it's rinse repeat every year. So I was just wondering. I talked about those days a little bit in text last night, I think, about how Survivor has evolved so much over the years for different twists and whatnot. But even something simple like a tribe swap switches things up. So I was just wondering if you guys had any ideas of a way that you think this game could not be broken anymore, fan guy.
I agree with your assessment that it's broken. It is solved to a degree. Just by the nature of the game itself, I do think people have solved it to a degree. I think there are different ways of going about doing it, but ultimately there are clear lines. So I agree with your assessment that that's how it is. As far as how to get rid of that, oh man, it's just with twists. You know, you watch some of the overseas foreign, like Australian Big Brothers, and they're a little bit more, they're still more like they don't even have a power of veto over there. It's still a popularity vote with the country. So I think there are different ways that they try to do the unexpected thing, which I think is a good theme for them because that's what they have to do. But they're going to have to constantly manipulate it. They can't let the people going into the season know that this is how, you know, it has to be a completely different game each and every season to keep people on their toes and not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, Meg, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Big Brother, it all comes down to the twist. And I think they tried to do that with the safety suite on this season. But I don't really like the fact that, like, you could only use your VIP card once. I think the safety suite should be like a weekly competition and one person wins. They don't maybe get to save somebody else, but then that can mess with who the HOH wants to put up. I think there should be like a double veto week where the one veto is played, replacement nominee goes up, but then there's another veto competition, you know, and just to mix it up a little bit. I think there like a coup d'etat coming up in this season where I think I read something on Reddit about that.
I feel like they need one.
Yeah.
They need one now.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just reading what people think they should do, or if that was like some sort of rumor of what's coming. But I mean, you know, somebody could win that and take the 2 people off the block and put up who they want and kind of mess with the HOH's power. But there has to be something more. We can't expect the unexpected when we can expect what the unexpected is going to be.
Yeah, and it's been the same for so many seasons now in a row.
Yeah.
Do either of you watch Big Brother Canada?
No.
I love it. They shut it down early this year.
Yeah. See, my problem with Twist is sometimes twists go too far, and Canada will do that sometimes.
Yes, the year that I forget her name won, they gave her all the power at the very end of the game on a twist. Like they basically said, you get to hijack the entire HOH, and you get to control the veto, and like it was like they gave her everything.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes there has to be a balance of twists. That's why I was thinking like a tribe swap is so simple, but I was thinking, I make these games all the time, but even I was struggling to think of what Big Brother can do because it is a very complicated game, but now that it's just figured out, it's just not anymore. Do you think casting has something to do with it, Meg?
Absolutely, 100%. And that's just coming from somebody who's tried to get on the show. I think they have set in their mind like the kind of people that they want on there. And most of the people that are on, not all-star seasons, obviously, but the other regular seasons, they're mostly recruits. They're people that did not go to audition for Big Brother, but were found by Big Brother casting directors and put in because they have a look about them or a personality trait that they might have seen. But I mean, get people in that are actual Big Brother fans and want to actually play the game and know what they're doing.
Fanga, do you think people are just, since this works, they're taking the easy way out? But why do you think there's these people that can't see what's happening on time?
I mean, honestly, in a sad sort of way, it almost becomes a popularity contest in a lot of ways. I think with even the new seasons, because you're getting people of different backgrounds, like completely different backgrounds, and everyone is just going to gravitate to a particular type of personality more than others. So I think the people that just are kind of the outcast a lot of times, like the old person of the group, the out of shape person of the group, like the people that are easiest to identify and put into a box can fall behind pretty easy because they aren't invited necessarily into these groups. But it's weird because I don't think a lot of times I do. I mean, it is a formula that has been figured out. The fact is, it is a numbers game because of the structure of the game. Welcome. And as a result of it being a numbers game, just due to the structure, which is exactly what we were just talking about, they've got to switch something up because it is a basic formula. It does work. So I think if someone is strategic and they're like, wait, I can get a majority and know I'm safe for the first half of the game. The problem is that takes the entertainment out of the first half of the game. And then basically it only gets juicy whenever people start having to cut each other's throats way down the line.
Hello, Days. We were just talking about, which we talked about a little bit the other night, about how the game is basically broken, trying to think of ways that it could possibly be fixed. Do you have any ideas?
I've been thinking about that too, and I've actually been going back and watching the old seasons of the challenge. I just started that, so I'm gonna be looking for a way to see how they might be able to do it. Saying this, thinking that Grudner and production might actually listen to me, which they won't. But yeah, the game has definitely switched up, and Tyler has been talking about it the past couple of nights on the feeds about old school versus new school, and I think we're way past the point. Old school players had no issue with saying who their targets were and putting it out there, and that's just not the game that's played anymore. It would take one hell of a twist to be able to shake up the game. And I mean, do we really want more twists in the game? It's kind of a double-edged sword. So
yeah, I was just talking about that with Fan Guy and some of Big Brother Canada's twists that can go too far.
Way too far.
Yeah. So it's a catch-22. I mean, what are you gonna do? You either stick with watching the game because you truly love Big Brother for what it is and just deal with it, or you stop watching. And I think I told you this the other night, Nick, that ultimately it's going to take Godner, however you say her name, being replaced. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So we better just get used to it.
What if they did something like they do with like Redemption Island or whatever on Survivor, where they go and they quarantine in the like jury house or whatever, but there's a couple battle backs, there's different chances for them to come back in, and I mean that'll mess with the numbers at least,
even the Red Skull twist on this season of the challenge. Like, I know Dazed and I have talked about this, and we disagree because he thinks it was kind of a worthless clause. But I disagree because I think the entire politics, even though, yes, everyone ended up going into a challenge, everyone had a chance to get a Red Skull when all came down to it. And no one was not picked for that final because they didn't have a Red Skull. The fact that you had to go into elimination, which for those of you who don't watch the challenge, that's basically what it comes down to. It said in order for you to run the final challenge, you have had to have been in elimination before. And
So, are you saying that in order to like play in the final 3 HOH, you would have had to sit on the block at some point?
I mean, I'm not saying that specifically, but I'm saying they need to implement a change on that level, like a macro game change that says, not necessarily that specifically, but along those lines, like just something the macro of the game.
So I'll throw this out there, and I was thinking about this last night. So just look at the type of people that they've been casting for the show. So basically, the longer you can stay in the house, the more your fans get a chance to see you, the more Instagram followers you get, and ultimately that is a bigger payoff in the long run than $500,000. They've got to start casting people again that are there to play the game, that $500,000 really makes a difference in their life, and that they're willing to be cutthroat as hell in order to win it. And I think that's where it's kind of changed up. Casting has been, recruiting folks from clubs and off of Instagram and whatnot. And it's no longer folks that really want to be there to play the game. So
that's what I just said before you got on. I mean, casting is too much recruitment of like pretty fleeces like Mickey and whatever Holly her name is, and not enough of, Janelle and Kaser and James and Danielle R and Texas Cowboy, whatever his name was. Let's get some people, like average people in here that actually want to play and and can use the money. I don't know. Does Nicole F need another 500,000?
No,
God,
she's a
we need to
social
just
media
watch
influencer.
her.
With that being said, y'all are going to hate my ratings for her today if we're all against her.
I could do without seeing her again on an episode of anything ever.
She's just so annoying.
All she does is cry. Every single day is crying.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to the episodes, I just want to touch upon Grodner because I really don't understand her at all. Because since Big Brother 19, it's not like the ratings have been good. It's been just declining more and more every season. They're barely struggling to hang on to the demo now. Like, they're going to have to do something because if this trend continues, they're not going to be on the air to fucking season 30, that's for sure.
And I get confused because, yes, the ratings are decreasing, but is that casual fans? Because in Reddit, Survivor Sucks, all these different message boards and whatnot, like, folks are still there talking about them and religiously watch this show in the feed. So, I mean,
in the end, if the ratings, if the demo falls, if the demo ever crumbles like their ratings did, I don't think CBS keeps it on forever.
It's Robin Cass too. I mean, she's the casting director, and honestly, I think they need to change that out.
They need a lot of changes.
The audition I went to was an open call, and literally waited in line for probably 9 or 10 hours before it was my turn to go in with a group of 5 people. And I got maybe 2 or 3 Spitfire questions that I had about 5 to 7 seconds to answer, and that's all they saw of me. How is that? How are you really interviewing these people to see if you're really just looking at like how they present themselves, your first impression of them right away, but no idea about gameplay or personality.
I agree.
I agree too. They clearly don't care about gameplay because there hasn't been any much gameplay. So I guess since we've spent 15 minutes on this, we could talk a little about the episodes. I'll start with you, Fan Guy. You had some comments for Memphis's HOH reign last week. What do you think about it now?
Okay, so all in all, look, I think his play to try to get as many people to play the safety suite as possible was a good play. I think on a game level, taking their opportunities to save themselves at a later date, I would consider that the big success, in my opinion, of Memphis's HOH reign. Because, like I said, whenever I look at all the alliances, like my alliance chart for the house, he isn't in very many. And so I don't think he utilized the HOH as well as he could have. I think he's playing a little bit more old school to the degree of it looks like he's sticking to maybe 5 different people, whereas everyone else has their hand in a lot more pots than him for the most part. So, on Memphis, but I do like that he got a lot of people to play the safety suite with his HOH. I thought that was,
I mean, it was, I guess, a good move, but I just don't like people that tell you this is what you need to do, and if you don't do it, then I'm putting you up.
She should have played it. Why didn't she? I mean, you already know that, you're not sitting well in the house. I mean, she wouldn't have won the damn thing anyways, but I mean, don't give somebody an opportunity to put you up for a stupid reason. At the end of the day, I mean, she's gone. I'm not upset about it. She just wasn't playing the game at all.
She was playing it pretty badly, Meg. Do you agree about Nicole being played this week with her paranoia?
Yes. And I think part of that probably came from being in a house with a lot of these like big name previous Big Brother players. I think she was scared and paranoid from the second she walked in. And she messed up. If she would have teamed up, I mean, maybe something could have happened if she would have not freaked out and didn't, do that whole thing about Janelle not having her back. And I mean, she kind of burned her own bridge, but I also feel like Memphis kind of wasted his HOH.
Memphis put himself in a bad spot with the house with his HOH, as far as I'm concerned. Like Fan Guy was saying, he didn't take that. I mean, everybody else in his alliance, Cody, Danny, Nicole, solidified themselves in other alliances. Memphis didn't do that, and I partially think that's because he didn't throw up Janelle or Kaser in a back door, and I think that really bit him in the ass.
Fan Guy, do you think it's Kevin's bad read on the house that got in Nicole's head? He talked a lot.
It could be. He was in her ear a lot, so it definitely could be. I don't think it was necessarily that, though. I really do think it was exactly what Dave said to a degree. Like, if the HOH tells you to do something and you're the only person on the list who doesn't do it, like, you know that there are 5 possible people that can go in, and you're one of those 5, and the other 4 do what the HOH says, well, you know what? You have now given them all the ammunition they need to put you in. So I think she did it to herself completely. So I don't think it was necessarily Kevin's bad read on the house. I mean, that's an entirely awesomely different subject on how out of touch he is with everything. But no, I think Nicole A really did it to herself.
Well, I mean, Kaser and Janelle had a conversation on the feeds one night about Kaser was trying to explain to Janelle, Nicole, she's doing back-to-back seasons right now. And she was in the house till the final 3 last time. That's a long time to be secluded away from everything and playing this game. This game can mess with your mind so much. And he was just basically defending her, saying she hasn't healed. She hasn't taken the time that she needs to get her mind back to where it needs to be after playing her last season. So she just came in a bad state.
And she had a pretty smooth ride last season too. She didn't really target the entire season.
And props to James Ryan, because he said the exact same thing on Twitter, that playing this back-to-back game in the house really fucks with your head. And he's been one of those advocates saying, hey, don't dish on her too hard when she leaves the house, because it is hard.
Well, she is gone now, so we'll just get right to Tyler winning HOH. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, Tyler put up Janelle and Kaser, so at least he's trying to make some kind of move and not put up too small. But I also think Janelle and Kaser are the easy votes right now because they don't really have anybody in the house. So I would have, of course, really liked to see Janelle or Kaser win and kind of flip things up, because I think That's really what's going to make things start to get interesting, is if we can get somebody else, if that's not part of this alliance in the HOH, but that's literally just Janelle and Kaiser. They're all pretty much in it.
Yeah.
I looking back, Nick, you and I discussed this for a little bit the other night about whether he actually needed to win it or not. And looking at the Alliance charts now, he has been left out of, the core 4 and the 4 prime, where Nicole, Franzel, Danny, and Cody have solidified it with 2 different people. So I have to think that if he didn't win it, he could have actually been put up on the block, at least as a replacement nom. So looking back, I do think that he needed to win it. And if he wouldn't have won the HOH, Janelle would have pulled that off. So I guess there could have been a chance that he would have went up. I know you don't particularly care for him, but I think this gives him an option to reevaluate where he sits in the house to possibly force his way in to some alliances. So for him as a game player, it was, I think, a good move.
I mean, I personally don't have a problem with him winning. Do I think he's going to use it to his advantage? So far, I don't think he's really making anything new happen. But Van Guy, what are your thoughts on Tyler?
He's not. I disagree with Days to the degree that I don't think he was in danger if he didn't win it. I really don't think he was going in anywhere near the block if he didn't win it. But I do think it was. I mean, I'm looking at the alliances. There's so many. And he does have because he has the protection of the way I'm reading it, the sneaky 7. He's got Team Freeze. He's got the judge and jury with Christmas. He's got the commission with Cody and Memphis. So Tyler does have his hands in a lot.
Your chart's a lot more advanced than mine is.
I don't have a chart.
Yeah, I don't have one this weekend.
Yeah, Tyler, I think's okay. Because he's got people on both sides of the house. The way I'm reading it, in my opinion, Janelle and Kaiser are super on the outside, and the other people, Kevin's next, Ian's kind of on the outs, Memphis and Christmas following closely behind. Everyone else is a real cluster F of
Intertwined alliances.
Like a big ball of yarn with everyone else. So, I do think Tyler's going to take the easy way out. He already has. I mean, he put up the 2 easiest targets in the house.
I mean, he had to, right? Well, if he doesn't, he falls under the same mistake that Memphis made.
Yeah, no, for his game, I absolutely agree. He has to do it. It's just boring. And quite frankly, I don't think things are going to get spicy until Janelle, Kaiser, Kevin, and Ian are probably out. I think those are the next names that are the easy votes, and I think the game will get spicier when those people are gone.
Well, I'm hoping that Janelle wins the veto and he puts Ian up in her place. I think that's the best chance that Kaiser has to stay.
Or Kevin.
Gonna piss
or Kevin.
Piss Nicole off.
Who cares?
I mean, she's gonna just cry anyway about anything.
See my kid. She watches Big Brother too. I bet she'd have an interesting assessment.
Who's your favorite?
Who's your favorite on Big Brother? Nicole A.
Oh.
Team Unicorn.
Yeah.
I guess my last question before we get into the ratings is there any way that it's not Janelle or Kaiser going home this week?
Yeah, I think Meg just kind of hit on it, that if one of them comes down, and knowing those two, there's a good chance that one of them is going to win the power of veto.
Yeah, but do you know who they're playing with?
Oh, if they already announced it?
Yeah, it's Cody, Memphis, and Bailey.
They'll rig it in Janelle's favor. If they want the ratings to improve, they'll rig it in Janelle's favor.
They should have done that with the HOH.
They took the feeds down at 1:00 and they're not back up yet. So I've been refreshing Reddit trying to figure out who won. But Kaiser has been saying that if he wins, he's going to use it on Janelle, which is such a Kaiser move, and that's why I love him.
But I do think Meg is right, though, that Ian going up would possibly give them the best chance
Or Kevin.
of. I mean, I think you have more ammunition with a previous winner sitting on the block. That's the only reason I say that. And it will take a lot of campaigning to get him out of the house. But it is an option, and I think it's the best case for Janelle and Kaser if one of them happens to come down.
I saw the
I
two
think-
talking.
Or go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
If they put up Kevin, I think the other one's guaranteed to go.
I saw the two talking about them possibly going to Tyler, telling him that Memphis told them about the alliance, and they did name everybody in that alliance. But would Tyler really be the one to react badly to that and put up Memphis? I can see it happening, but I can't see it happening at the same time. Because last week Tyler was pretty annoyed with Memphis, but
You know, that's Memphis being a replacement nom could happen. I think his HOH left a bit of a bad taste in a lot of his alliance's mouth. So that option's there. I don't think the House would vote him out. I think they'd take the opportunity to get Janelle or Kaser out, but I mean, it could happen.
So, do you want to know who won the veto?
no, Lord, it looks like bad news. I'm gonna say Cody or Tyler.
Tyler. So
Yeah.
noms are staying the same, and
Yeah,
Janelle's probably out.
I just don't think Tyler has the oomph to like make a big play at this point in the game. He just doesn't have it in him. He's kind of a coward when it comes to stuff like that.
It's not in his best interest to keep with who he has an alliance with. It's better just to keep both of them on the block. Whether I want that to happen or not for his game, he should not change the knobs.
I agree.
Unless
kind
you
of
can
agree,
work
but-
something out with Janelle and Kaser and possibly get Bailey in there, and maybe even pull in Ian. If they can build some numbers, I mean, he's kind of he's got it out for Danny right now.
yeah.
Ian's one of the few people on my chart that Tyler's not connected to.
It's a long 5 days.
Tyler's connected to virtually everyone else.
It's a long.
I think the odds are they stay the same. But I said last week, Tyler is not in the best position that he can be. He does need to do more work because these alliances that he's in, he's not at the top of them, in my opinion. Not the pregame alliances.
No, and I spoke about that last week, that something that he needed to do in his HOH was kind of take the place of Cody in those alliances that he's in. And if he can do that, he'll better himself in the house. But I think he's just going to play it safe this week. So
But he can
I
use
think
it
so.
to further his relationships with the people he is working with. And that's what he really needs to be focused on doing because, as you said, his targets are clear. They should be clear from his game perspective. But he can use this week to further his spot in the hierarchy of his many alliances.
I agree, but I don't think so far he has at all. Well, I guess let's go over these power rankings. These are our bottom spots of this week. The bubble finally burst on Janelle as we had to face reality that she's probably going this week. Kevin's still at the very bottom. David, basically the same spot, but up one because Nicole is out. Kaser only fell one. Memphis fell 4 spots, though. Do you think this is the bottom?
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not my personal bottom. I think
Yeah.
I think Ian should probably be where Memphis is, but other than that, I think it's pretty close. And I think Ian and Memphis are really close. They're like on the bottom of the next tier and the top of this tier. So I think it's close. Yeah.
where's Ian on that list? Is he number 9?
He's going to be on.
He's number 9. He'll be on the next one. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying is I think Ian could come down or Memphis could go up to the next one. But other than that, they look pretty close to me.
I moved Ian up a little bit. I scored him the same as Memphis this week, so I could interchange them if I wanted to. But that matches up pretty well with what I have.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to mine as well. We'll talk about Ian next, I guess. At number 9, he is up 3 spots, though. He keeps slowly going up our list, Vanga.
I had him ranked at a 4, brother. So I don't know.
I kept him the same. I feel like he's in the same spot as he was when I gave him his score
Yeah, I
last
don't think
week.
he's in a
So
great spot. I just think what ended up happening was Janelle and Kaser are clearly in a absolute terrible spot. So
Yeah.
just by proxy, and David too, really, let's be real. Just by proxy of those three just having almost no chance, Ian had to go up.
I bumped him up a little bit from last week solely because if you want to go after Ian, you have to go through Nicole, and she's in the majority. So with, I think he's made that relationship pretty obvious, and I don't see him going. I don't see the majority going after him while he's attached to Nicole at this point. So I rated him as a 4 also. I bumped him up from a 2 just because Janelle and Kaser are on the block, but I think he's not in the worst.
So low.
He's not in the worst case scenario, but he could be in a better spot. So
I gave him a 7.5.
You did help him out a lot, Meg, because I think the rest
did.
is gave him 4s.
And I think the reason I did that is because I think Ian is a very smart player, and I think people know that he's smart, but I also think he's just so likable that they keep talking about maybe doing it, but they don't. And I think that might continue for a while.
I want to add something too, because in season 14 he won a lot of comps down the road in his season. But these competitions are not what they used to be even in season 14. They are a lot more physical. And if he is expecting to make a run in competitions down the road in this game, he's got another thing coming. And that's why I do want to rate him higher, because I think he's okay. But I think his plan isn't going to work out the way he wants it to. And I don't think he's going to win those competitions down the road. So
I just keep going back to, he was trained by Dan. And Dan's arguably like the best player in Big Brother history.
That argument can be made.
He just doesn't have, again, I go back to my chart. I hate I keep going back to it. He just doesn't have as many connections. He's in 4 prime. He's in the million.
In your damn chart.
I know. And I'm not the chart guy. But I just found this alliance chart I really like because it's accurate. He's in 4 prime. He's not even in the core 4. Like his only thing is the Millionaires Club with Nicole and 4 prime with Cody, Nicole, and Danny. That's it.
In order for his plan to work, it's going to take some great timing, and it might not actually already be too late, to be honest. He can't wait too long to start pulling the trigger because he ain't going to have numbers. Not the way Big Brothers play these days. Nice and boring. Anyway, on to Christmas, who is up 3 spots as well. Fan guy.
Christmas, I gave her a 5 personally. I think she's right in the middle of the pack. Again, she and Memphis don't have a ton of alliances, so I don't think she's not in the cool kids part of her alliances. She's on kind of the bottom end of most of her groups. So yeah, she's gonna need to win some comps. I do think she's gonna be able to fly under the radar for a while, but I think it's gonna get to the point where other people's connections are probably just better than their connections to her. And that's at the point where I think she's gonna.
But that's when she's gonna start winning comps. I have no doubt that Christmas can win some physical comps.
That's when she's going to need to win the comps, is when it gets to that point.
Interesting conversation I watched, I think it was last night, Tyler bringing up her hot-headedness and when is it going to let loose. So I'm waiting for him and a couple others to fan those flames to get her to possibly go after somebody. And like you said, Fan Guy, she's not super well connected with all the alliances, but I think everybody kind of has the same understanding that if you want to put a target on Christmas's back to get her out, you've got to get her in an argument with somebody, and they're already thinking about that. So I didn't put her too high. I think that she's going to have to win competitions to save her ass, but I did put her at a 5, up 1 from last week. I'm still waiting for that explosion to happen.
Yeah, I rated her a 6. Because I just think she's middle of the pack right now, and she could continue just to kind of float along until she's on somebody's radar. But she's got to win some competitions too.
I only gave her a 4. She's the type of player I don't like. She's the type of player we were talking about earlier with these IG models who are just there, who aren't playing to win, who are content with being at bottom of alliances. I don't see her winning. That's why I gave her the lowest score. She's just not going to be able to.
So her saving Ian, or last week or this week, does nothing for you? You don't think that was any type of game move?
I mean, yeah, it was. But Ian's, like the fan guy was saying, Ian's in a spot that doesn't have a lot of power either. So it's just kind of like, you hopped yourself with the alliance, but you're still at the bottom. Up next, Davon has foul, 3 spots.
Sorry,
Because
Davon.
she can't keep her mouth shut. That's her biggest problem. She tells everybody everything.
I agree. As much as I love Davon, she is not very good at Big Brother. I actually think she should be lower.
I think that she's really good at figuring stuff out, but in the process of figuring that stuff out, she has to throw a lot of shit out there, and it doesn't really do her any good. So even if she does figure it out, shit has already changed in the past 5 hours that she's figured it out. So she's just hurting herself.
We talk about why she wouldn't vote for David. Do you guys have feelings on that, or without, it's a difficult topic, right? But like, I just feel like you're playing a game. The game is about strategizing and using different people in the game to get you farther. You not voting for somebody just because you don't want to vote for a person of color, I feel is just not the way to play Big Brother. Her voting for him is not saying I'm voting for you because you're a person of color. I mean, if he doesn't bring something to your team, why are you leaving him in there? It doesn't matter what he looks like.
I do think it's just as bad as voting him out for his skin color. Saving him for his skin color seems the same to me. So I mean, I agree and disagree. I mean, the real thing you got to understand, and I actually had to think about this a lot coming into this season, is that Big Brother historically has not given minorities a reasonable chance to win in a lot of ways. Due to not casting them a lot of times, or just minimally casting them. So I do understand where Davon, Bailey, and David are coming from, where, it would mean something cool to them to see that represented. And I think everyone would agree with that. But on the same token, I do think bringing it to a game level and saying, I'm not going to vote this person out because of their color, their skin, is the same as saying I'm going to vote someone out because of the color of their skin.
But her voting him out could have possibly pushed her closer to being in a better spot to win, like for her own personal gameplay.
It's kind of like what Nicole A said.
Yeah, Nicole A did say that to her.
Yeah.
Nicole did say that, but is that the person I want to save in that spot? I'm just not convinced that's the only reason Dave won.
She was really, that's, I mean, my kind of question on the back of that is, do you think Avon was the swing vote this week? And I
don't think they had the numbers anyway.
I agree with that. That's why I don't think it was. I agree with you. Like, I don't think it was strictly for that reason. If it was strictly for that reason, then yeah, I agree with you, Meg. I don't agree with it. I agree with where it's coming from, but I don't think it crossed lines into the game that way. I don't think that's healthy.
I think when it comes down to voting Nicole A out, for me, if I was in the game, what can you really do with somebody who has no idea what's going on in the house? I mean, they're going to be so easily persuaded by everybody else that it doesn't really benefit you in any way to keep them. So, I mean, was that her reason? Was it not her reason? I don't think really any of us know for sure, but
David was in the same spot though. David admitted he's never watched Big Brother. He is completely lost as far as the gameplay. Maybe that's a good thing for this season, since the gameplay does seem to be figured out, that we have somebody in there that doesn't really know how it's supposed to play. But I mean, don't you think if you were going into a competition game of a TV show like this, that you would do some, especially an all-star season, wouldn't you do some research first and watch some previous seasons? Like,
What are
I
they
mean,
doing
I'm
supposed
not walking into that house without have watched every season.
exactly.
Back to what you said about casting too, though. Let's be real. Like David got cast knowing nothing about Big Brother. He's on his second season. You have, and look, like I said, I'm confident that there are if it was to check, there are minority players out there who love Big Brother and would kill to be on the show, and they're super fans and they would play hard. You know what I mean? Like David, if they cast him, it had to be one of the headhunter sort of situations. Like, we like this guy's look, we like his, style, and so we're gonna cast him, rather than, like, like, there's a lot of people that are eager to get in there, and he's not one of them. And so it just feels like his spot, even on his original season, is wasted. Like, let's get people in there.
I mean, maybe they need to cast people that have never watched Big Brother. If we want to switch it up and see some new gameplay,
Yeah, that's true.
maybe we don't need to cast super fans.
Or all super fans, one way or the other. I mean, because there's just clear predators and prey a lot of times when it comes to strategizing. That's one of the things I love about what Nick does, is because it gives people a platform to like show their strategic thoughts and things like that, and so that's cool. I think, because I think that needs exposure.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to stay on the topic of race with Bailey, because I feel like if Bailey was white, she'd be in one of the best spots of the house, because she's playing one of the best social games, in my opinion. But because she's being put together as a duo with Devon, and Devon's doing her own thing, and then today Nicole F is crying about her because of a joke she made, so now Bailey's looking like she's all intimidating. It's definitely a mess. But anyway, Bailey is up one spot, but I couldn't vote her as high as I want, but I do think that there's some race at play when it comes to Bailey, fan guy.
I agree, man. I'm glad that you spun that in the opposite direction, because I actually think that's 100% true. I think Devon is playing such a vocal race sort of related game, and that Bailey is being grouped with her by that association. So I think Bailey is going to catch a lot of Devon's fallout, if there is fallout from that. I think it's already a very tight wiry sort of tricky subject that I think a lot of the house is going to definitely not even touch, unless they're clearly in the presence and talking about it with Devon, probably specifically, and not even necessarily Bailey. In a lot of, like, because Devon's just so much more vocal. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think, sadly, that yes, that it is working against Bailey just by association with Devon, if anything.
I switched. So last week I had Bailey below Devon. I switched them. I dropped both of them just because they are tied together. But Bailey is showing her chops as far as social game goes this year. She's doing really good. I hate to say it, as much as I love Devon, but I think Devon going could benefit Bailey in a great way, and she could easily, get into these other groups with people.
I think Bailey just needs to be careful with what she says, though, because I
With
think
Devon, as weird as that sounds,
she doesn't understand that sometimes she says things that just, like, she doesn't mean them to come off a certain way, but they do.
What did she say to Nicole?
I don't know.
Nick?
Keep talking. I'll look it up.
Okay.
Like, different comments. I can't remember if it was in the feeds or in the show. Cody had called her out on, she said something about, like, oh, you never make your bed in the morning anyway. And he's like, you always have something rude to say. Like, I feel like she doesn't mean it that way, but some people just, like, it rubs them the wrong way.
I'm with her. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't sugarcoat stuff. Like, that would be something difficult for me to do in the house. Like, my bed is not made. My bed has not been made in like a decade.
Oh,
so,
me either.
Like, you have something to say about it. Why? Who cares? You're not the one sleeping in it. It's me.
Well, she did
Get off
something
my
else on the
nuts.
feeds too, where like Danny went to like sit down next to her and she moved some of Bailey's clothes or something that was in the way, and Bailey made some sort of comment to her about like, if you would have asked, I would have moved my stuff. You don't have to touch it, or like it's just a Bailey comment, and I think that's
Like
what's
Bailey,
gonna get her in trouble. Is just these kind of like hot-tempered little digs that she makes. I don't think she realizes that she's kind of coming off pretty rude.
She talked about this on the feeds when they were talking about the whole David being in love with Devon, and that David's not her type because she needs somebody to put her in check. Bailey's kind of the same way. Like, she's going to say what she wants. And I think not having Swaggy there is Swaggy can say, hey, like, you don't need to, that's probably a bad idea. She doesn't have anybody with her in the house to say, hey, don't say that. That's bad. But that's genuinely her personality. So
she hasn't made any huge missteps with that yet, but she is capable, and she is towing a tight wire at times with that, because we've seen it on multiple games. We've seen it in Big Brother, and we've seen it in the challenge. She
her and Christmas.
They were talking about Nicole winning, and Bailey said it took you a couple tries and a couple guys, and now Nicole's was hurt feelings.
She's not wrong, though.
I know she's not.
I did see that actually. I did see that on Reddit.
We'll move on to our top 5.
And keeping it real goes wrong.
But that's what I mean. Like, she says what she's thinking, and like she's not wrong with what she's saying, but she just needs to think a little bit before some things come out of her mouth that like other people might not take it like it's a joke.
Or other people should just grow thicker skin.
Yeah, I agree with Days, actually. Because Nicole F just has no skin. She just cries every fucking day about something.
Poor Victor. Poor Victor.
God, I know, right?
Oh, man.
Number 5 is Danny, who is up 4 spots.
She's in a good spot.
That's surprising to me.
I agree. I agree that Danny's in a good spot. I feel like she's an easy out when the time comes, though, because she's already pissed off the guys in her alliances.
She's another one of those that says what she's thinking and has no filter. And she doesn't have her dad here to protect her as the bigger target this time. So it's going to bite her in the ass like it did in, season 13. So, but she has woven herself into all these alliances, so it's going to be difficult to take her out without pissing somebody off. So, I mean, the storm's coming. The storm is coming. Somebody's going to piss her off, and she's going to let loose in the house, which will ultimately, have her on the block. So she's got to tread lightly with her words.
She's at the center of my spider web, personally. Like the way my alliances, yeah, she's in with everybody.
See, the
And is that a
problem with
good or
that
a bad
is
thing?
Tyler already knows that, so that's what's bad for her.
It's good and bad. I think it'll get her further, but I think she's going to be the first one that has serious blood on her hands, and therefore going to be a target semi-early as well. But I think she's pretty safe till Janelle, Kaser, Kevin, and maybe even Ian or Memphis Christmas is out.
She can win comps, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of comp it is. She can ball.
Apparently, this season only guys win comp, so I'm not convinced of that.
Are there any girls playing this season?
Not much longer, about 5 more weeks, and then they're out.
I mean, David's called it. The All Guys Alliance is running things right now, so.
Nicole has dropped 2 spots, but she's still high. Your thoughts on this, Dazed?
I actually moved her up. I moved her up from a 5 to a 6.5, and I said it last week. As much as I dislike her, just as annoying as she is, the girl knows how to play the game, and she uses everything she can, including crying every single day. And just like Danny and Cody, she's woven herself into quite a few alliances. So I can't fault her. I don't care for watching her, but she's she's playing another good game, and you're dumb to let her get any farther than she already has.
I mean, I will say it was a pre-game alliance that got her far in her winning season, so that's what's happening again this season, Meg.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like Fan Guy's saying, like once we get these like maybe next 4 kind of easy people out, it's gonna start to get interesting, and that's when I think people are gonna look at her and be like, "You won before. You are a good player. You know how to play." And those bigger targets are gonna move up on the list of, or those bigger threats are gonna move up on the list of targets.
I think our hope right now is that she gets brigaded, because she'll be the last woman taken out if all the guys stick together. She'll be a Brittany, or she'll be a Nicole, like she has been with an all guys alliance. So it'll just come down to them chopping her at the end.
Van Guy, how do people deal with her crying all the time?
They don't. That's why. I mean, I actually think she's probably in a better spot than I gave her, but she's just so dang unlikable to me, and I feel like she has to come off that way to other people that way too. I don't know.
I would think so. I don't know. People have to treat her like a literal child. Danny's her friend, so I guess it's easy for her. But the other people, I don't know how they do it.
I would be one of her targets if I was in the house, because I'd be calling her a victim.
Yeah, I'm not a. I'd probably be trying to make her cry on purpose. Up next is Enzo, who's up 4 spots to number 3.
I mean, Enzo was not on, I think, high on my list when the show started, but he's slowly creeping up there. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up above Tyler and Cody in the coming weeks on our power players list.
Yeah, he super sociable, can win comps, which is, did he win comps in season 12? I don't remember. But the one, I didn't put him higher. I put him at a 7, moved him up 1 spot, and I didn't put him higher because I think if he gets down to the final 3, being that sociable is gonna work against him, because anybody that's with him is gonna know I can't take him to the final 2 because he is so damn likable, and he's gonna get the jury votes. So if he gets down to, final 3, final 4, final 5, it's in your best interest to get rid of him, because he's going to beat you in the final. So if he's going to either have to win cops or, try being a dick every once in a while to, not be so nice to folks.
They could switch it up and put 3 finalists in like Survivor started doing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just change it up every year. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier too. Just switch it up every year. Just keep them on their toes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say I gave Enzo a 7 right off the bat, and I'm glad you guys are coming up to join me. Welcome.
I'm at a 6. I'm not quite there yet, but I can see him going.
You're getting there.
I think his game is a tons better than the last time he played. I think he's doing a great job. I think his end game is going to be a little sketchy depending on who's there at the end, but he's doing great. I love watching him. He's hilarious. The whole not wiping down the seat after the bidet incident was pretty funny. So I love watching him. I hope he stays for a long time, and I wouldn't be opposed to him winning Big Brother All-Stars.
Yeah.
I think him overtaking Cody and Tyler's spot is actually, in my opinion, going to come down to if Cody and Tyler win more HOHs or if Enzo wins HOH, because I think they're all kind of in similar boats, and whoever can develop their slightly outlying connections with their slightly, acquaintance sort of people is in the best spot. Those 3 are definitely in the top 3 spots.
I mean, nobody's really talking about him at this point, but that can also change very quickly.
And Enzo HOH would be something to watch. I would love to see it. He doesn't need to win HOH.
He doesn't, because I think he would actually fuck up his game. I think he would try and make a big move.
It can happen on a
But I
time.
want to watch it because the season's so fucking boring. So
all it takes is one person to go, wait, what about Enzo? Is no one? That's all it takes.
Yeah.
One little spark sometimes. Or just
Well, our top two remains the same, even though Nicole was tied for second last week, but it's Cody 1, Tyler 2. Cody has been 1 since the start of the season, fan guy.
He's been my number one, man, and I have him number one this week, even over HOH Tyler still. Cody was my personal only 8 this week, and I think he just has the most connections. I think people legitimately trust him. He seems to be at the top of most every one of his alliances, which I think shows some macro on the game and sheds a little light on just how important an early HOH is, because I think that allowed
I think it shows that Derek fucks with these games a lot, but
I won't argue that.
But what's going to happen when he's on the top of 3 different alliances and they're the only ones left?
If he's calling shots, he would be safe, I would think. No, in any of the scenarios, that's why you want to be on the top of the alliances and not on the bottom.
But it's just a chance to get a lot of blood on your hands. Like, he's going to have to play it, like, maybe not win HOHs and depend on his alliances to keep him safe.
I think it's a difficult balance for him right now. Yes, he's in a good spot, but Meg is right. He's going to have to show his cards at some point. I mean, I would love to be in a spot because I feel that he is at the top of the ranking in the house, but that's a difficult spot to be into because I mean you're gonna fuck somebody over at some point, and it's gonna come back to bite you. But like Vanga, I have him at an 8. I moved him up 2 spots. I mean, he's playing a really good game right now.
Lastly, any last thoughts on Tyler, anybody?
I gave him a big jump. Moved him up from 4 to 7. I don't like him, but the dude knows how to play this game, and he does it really well. And how he's made all these final 2 alliances and folks have still not caught on to it already. I mean, I got to give him credit.
Right. More power to him.
Likeable, man. He's just a likable, sort of chill surfer cat. And it's real easy to like a guy like that and trust him. And that's what he has going for him.
I do think if this was a real All-Stars, people would already be onto his game. But unfortunately,
yeah, you put somebody like Danielle Reyes in there, Boogie or Will, and Tyler, no. But he has control over some of these folks with not so good emotional level skills or something. I don't know.
Emotional control.
Yeah.
I just feel like for like all stars, right? I mean, we have like 21 previous seasons of Big Brother that we can look at and pick one out of 16 people from each season that could potentially be on the All Stars. And I mean, like, I think Survivor did it right. They only brought back winners. They brought back winners who know how to play the game, and they're going to play the game hard. Like, here we have David, who's never actually played the game before, but he's somehow in there. And then, I mean, the only 2, I mean, Ian, Janelle, Kayser, I think they are considered like all-stars, but I mean, I don't know. I think there should have gone for a bigger pool of some like older players to really have an all-star season. Yeah, legends.
I mean, yeah. I don't necessarily think that being a winner makes you an all-star. Like, I wouldn't put in there, what's her name? Jeff's wife.
Jordan.
Definitely not an all-star.
She only won because she was so likable and Jeff got her there.
So I don't know if being winners is necessarily the right way to go about it, but I mean, do we want Josh in the house?
No. But Josh is, no. I mean, all right, I retract what I said about only winners. But
I think it's just Big Brother has some bad winners.
They have had bad winners, and I think it's because it's a vote-based game and not a competition-based game. I mean, Survivor's vote-based too, but it's a different level with, like you said, switching up tribes, having to strategize. I mean, you have no choice but to strategize. And then also winning. You have to win immunities. You have to in order to stay alive. And their competitions are just so much more difficult. And
I mean, they could do like season 11 and do the, split them up into teams. I mean, that's been done before. I mean, that's an option.
Is that the Brains, Brawn, Beauty season? Yeah, that was a good season. I enjoyed the hell out of that one.
The idea I was thinking of, even though it's just basically Survivor in a way, was to just start a season with 2 separate houses of 8 people, so that when you could just put them all together and you don't have all these fucking alliances controlling the game.
But
I mean,
that would be a house versus house sort of deal.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, they have the room with that safety suite, so I don't know where the hell that thing's at, but that place
It's
is massive.
huge.
It is
Yeah.
huge.
Do they get to stay in there when they are in the safety suite?
No.
It's only used for the safety suite competition.
I think it's like in the basement of the building or something.
What a waste of space.
I will say an open vote might change things too, as weird as that sounds, because having to vote things to people,
No.
it's more emotional. It makes for better TV for dang sure. Yeah, I don't like voting.
I mean, I definitely would put an end to big early alliances.
Yeah, I think that would do opposite of what we want, where everybody votes with everybody. It's house vote after house vote after house vote.
But I mean, you're right. It has been figured out. It is a numbers game, but this whole like one-sided way to play Big Brother is going to continue to lower the ratings.
It's going
And
to kill the franchise quickly.
exactly.
I did like somebody on Twitter bringing up, I mean, it would piss off the players in the game, but there was a twist on Big Brother UK years ago where the person eliminated wasn't actually eliminated. They got to go to a suite, which we already have, and watch the game instead.
Ooh,
They did on Australia this season, recently, like
really?
last month on Big Brother Australia.
That's one way they could save Janelle.
Wait, you talking about talking about in our season of online survival being able to watch the chats behind the scenes, like that's basically what they get. They did that in the challenge one season where when you went to the redemption house or whatever, you got to spy in on the cams. So that's something
like that. They basically had control of all the audio and visual around the house. You could watch everything.
That changes a lot though. You better watch your words in that house.
If you know that somebody's watching you, like who you just voted out.
Well, that's all I have for this week, unless you guys have any last thoughts.
I'll throw something in there. What if you have like the camp comeback or whatever, and everybody in it gets a collective vote? Like they don't all get to vote, but they all get to vote on somebody to vote on on the block. I think that'd be a cool twist.
It would be if there wasn't like a split house.
I just want it to go back to the days where everybody's just playing individually, like just straight up, and it's just like, I mean,
can we just get rid of the have-nots? I think it's so stupid.
It's just called friendship. You know, like you have your bestie in the house. That is always going to be an alliance. It's just not spoken into existence as an alliance. But I just want to tell everyone to be kind to each other.
I'm so tired of Julie saying that. I'm over her.
I love Julie though.
I do. I love it when she's a robot, but I'm over it. But other than that, enjoy
grilling.
Yeah. Enjoy the boring week that is ahead of us. So that's all I have for you.
All right.
All right. I will talk to you guys next week if, I don't hurt myself while I'm watching Big Brother. Good night, everybody.
Deuces.
Bye.